Chris here, and welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to share with you my TBR for the Whodunnit Readathon. So this is a clue-based readathon that is being hosted by Paige, Danielle, and Naomi. I will link their channels in the description below. And they all have, I believe, TBR games based around clue. And in this readathon, you can read somewhere between 3 and 9 books. Basically, you need to read at least 3 of each category, but you could double up based on the rules and read a book that represents, say, Professor Plum, The Rope, and The Library. But you couldn't read one that represented Professor Plum, Miss Scarlet, and Colonel Mustard. So there is the ability to double up, and then there is the chance that you might not be able to. So we also can choose a character, and each character has a little bit of a bonus. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose Miss Peacock. And Miss Peacock's bonus is that you can roll a die, and whatever number comes up on the 6-sided die is the days in April that you can start your TBR. And I thought that would be the one that would serve me best, because I'm going to want to read for each of the prompts. So I don't really want to be able to look at cards without having had read a book. And I like the idea of the spinner wheels, which is Miss Scarlet's extra ability. So we're going to roll a d6 to see how many days into April that I can actually start reading my TBR. And let's stop. 2. So I can start the readathon 2 days early, which works for me. So I thought a fun way to do this would be to take the clue deck, and I'm going to pick 3 rooms, 3 weapons, and 3 characters, since we have to read 3 of each. And then I will do like completely random so that I can then decide what books I'm going to read. So let's see. Whoops. Dropping cards. So I'm going to go with this room right here. We have the ballroom. Okay. And I'm feeling this room. We have the billiard room and this one, the study. So I have to read a book that represents the study, the billiard room, and the ballroom. I have my weapons. Let's give them a shuffle. We'll mix them up. I'm trying to do this so I can't see the camera. And we will pick 3. So I will need to find something representing a knife, a candlestick, and a lead pipe, which leaves us with the character cards. We'll give these a quick shuffle. And I'm going to go with Mr. Green, Mrs. White, and Colonel Mustard. So here are the 9 cards I'm going to have to find books for. Wish me luck. So I've had a look through my books, and I think I've assembled a pretty good TBR. So let's start with Mrs. White. So Mrs. White is a maid, and so I'm going to read a book with a maid in it, and for this I'm going to go with A Death of No Importance. We're following Jane, who lives in New York City in 1910 and is serving as a lady's maid and is working for a upper crust family when the family's daughter Charlotte becomes engaged to an eminent playboy, Nori, and Nori is found dead, murdered at a party. So Jane, using her ability as a lady's maid, is going to investigate the crime and try to prove that it had nothing to do with Charlotte, I would assume. So this is going to be my book for Mrs. White because it prominently features a maid. For Colonel Mustard, we have somebody who is obviously, well, a colonel. So he served in the military. And so for this, I'm going to read Who Were the Navajo Code Talkers. I don't really know much about them. I had never heard of them prior to seeing this book. This is a middle grade nonfiction and is part of the Who HQ line. So I'm going to learn about the Navajo Code Talkers, and they were prominent and featured during World War II. So there is my war prompt. For Mr. Green, most of the prompts based on his personality and his character didn't work. So I'm going to go with color, and I'm going to read The Simple Art of Flying, as it has a mostly green cover. This features 2 parrots who are going to be our main characters. This is a book called Revisited. So it's a book I've been needing to get to for a very, very long time. And I am very, very excited to find out about Alistair and his beloved sister, Aggie. So this is going to be my choice for Mr. Green. Now on to the weapons. So next we have a lead pipe, and this could be something that is extremely heavy, either in content or in like book size. So I'm going to go with this chunker. The Revolution of Marina M. This is another one of my book haul revisiteds, and let me tell you, this 800-page book is heavy. I could use this as a weapon, so this is going to be my corresponding book for the lead pipe prompt. For the knife, we're going to go with razor thin, since knives tend to have a razor thin edge. And in the complete opposite of the last prompt, I'm going with Unicorn of the Sea by Narwhal, because it is a very, very tiny book. So like the exact opposite of the lead pipe prompt. I've heard good things about this one, so I'm very, very curious, and I think it'll be a quick, easy read. And lastly, for the candlestick. So in the picture, it is just like the holder, but when I think of candlesticks, I think of flames. And so I'm going to go with the Camelot Code, Geeks and the Holy Grail, because this dragon is breathing out a ton of flames. This is the second book in the Camelot Code series, and it is a King Arthur retelling where he ends up in our world and our main character, Sophie, ends up back in Camelot. So I really enjoyed the first book, and it's about time I got to the second. Now on to the study. And in the study, you tend to learn something. You're studying something. So I'm going with a nonfiction, and that would be 999. The Extraordinary Young Women of the First Official Jewish Transport to Auschwitz. So this is a nonfiction that talks about 999 women in the Auschwitz concentration camp. On March 25th, 1942, nearly 1,000 young unmarried Jewish women, many of whom were teenagers, boarded a train in Slovakia, believing they were going to a work factory, only to end up in Auschwitz, and only few of them survived. And this is going to be their story, and finding out what happened to them and hearing about the ones who did survive and stuff like that. I think this is going to be a book that is absolutely going to teach me something, and it is going to be a book that very much fits a study prompt. Next is the billiard room, and I'm going to go with a game-related prompt. So for this, I'm going to read another book called Revisited, The Game Masters of Garden Place. So this follows a group of 6th graders that somehow manage to summon their characters from a tabletop role-playing game that they were playing. So we're going to get to see game characters come to life. We're involving, like I said, tabletop role-playing games, which would be my game thing. And it is one, again, another one I've kind of needed to get to for a while. So I'm very excited to be putting this on my Whodunnit TBR. And then lastly, we have the ballroom. And for this, I'm going to go with like an elegant gown. So I'm going to be reading The Disappearance of Astrid Bricard, because she is certainly wearing a very showy gown in this one. This is a historical fiction mystery. I don't really know much more about it, but I'm very curious to see what happens to Astrid and, you know, where she went. She disappeared. Let's see if we can find her. So this, along with 999, is my Whodunnit TBR. I am very excited to dive into this. Thanks to Miss Peacock, I can dive into it 2 days early. And you'll have to watch my vlogs to find out what I end up getting on the spinner wheel for Miss Scarlet, assuming I actually get through all of these books. So that is my TBR. I'm very excited to be taking part and finding out who done it. Thank you to Paige, Naomi, and Danielle for creating this readathon and putting it on again this year. I'm very excited to be participating. All of my social media is linked in the description below if you'd like to come chat with me. If you've made it this far in the video, leave me any emojis that are associated with detecting. Like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye!